Welcome to the U.S. Essential Business Podcast, episode number 6. In today's episode, we're going to talk to 4 senior account managers from LINC Systems. We're going to hear what they're doing to help keep themselves safe, as well as keeping their customers safe. And as we can see, they go the extra mile to make sure that those relationships are maintained and that they are still doing the best that they can to keep their customers satisfied, happy, and moving forward. So let's go to this conversation right away as we hear from Rick, Kyle, Dennis, and Tony. All right, with us today on U.S. Essential Business, we have 4 senior account managers from LINC Systems, and really glad to talk to them in this format. We're going to hear how they've adjusted during this time of COVID-19, how they're keeping themselves safe, as well as what they're doing for their customers. So we're going to give a little background on each one. Let's start with Dennis Williams. Dennis, how long have you been in the business? What geography do you cover?
Well, I live in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I cover eastern North Carolina and Southside Virginia. I started with Stanley Bostitch back in 1994 as a service rep and stayed with them until 2010, I guess it was, when I went over to LINC Systems after the industrial division that Stanley Bostitch closed and phased out. And I've been with LINC Systems since 2010, 2012. We began the senior account managers positions, and the 4 of us here was asked to fill those positions.
Very nice. Yeah, that's why we got you guys. You're the best of the best. And Dennis, we're going to ask you something a little bit later on, but maybe set the table for it. What do you do during your off time? You volunteer for something?
Yeah, I'm a volunteer at Stony Creek Rescue Squad in Rocky Mount. I began there in 1971 as a junior member at the age of 13, and I've come up through the ranks and stuff. And right now, I'm service chief. I've been the chief of our rescue squad for the last 10 years. We run 3 ambulances, 3 rescue trucks, a search and recovery dive team. We have 3 search and recovery boats.
That is amazing. Well, we're going to hear a little bit more about that too. Tony Bielek, we'd like to go with you next.
I cover central Indiana. I live just south of Indianapolis, and I've been in the business for 17 years. I've been a senior account manager since I started with LINC Systems in 2014.
Very good. And Kyle Fegley, you've also come over with some Bostitch business. Give us your background and your geography.
So I started with Stanley Fastening Systems, I believe it was January 1999, and came over to LINC, obviously, during the transition. I believe it was 2010. Been in the business now like 21 years. I cover pretty much South New Jersey, Central Jersey, eastern part of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, and Northern Delaware and Maryland.
A lot of geography to cover for sure. And
Yeah.
Rick Tyler, I've known you over 35 years. Good old buddy of mine, and you've been part of the SAM team for a while. Give us your background, Rick.
Sure, as you mentioned, senior account manager, which has probably some things to do with age, but more importantly, I think actually respect from your fellow account managers, and also a big thing about experience. I can pass on and kind of mentor other account managers as far as that goes. I cover in Michigan, basically the Thumb area, then northern Michigan. And what I do for my customers is I solve problems that they have, and currently in the present time, and try to anticipate problems that are actually maybe not problems, try to anticipate solutions that they may have in the future. And I've been doing those things for 44 years. First started out with Senko, then to DualFast, and then on to LINC. And I've been with LINC the longest.
Wow. That's some good history you have there, Rick. Now, all 4 of you gentlemen, you're a very important cog of our team, our whole company. You go in on site and service tools that go down, pneumatic tools, they wear and tear. You guys are very dependable. Your customers love the daylights out of you, and we appreciate all you do. But obviously, we're here because of essential business. You guys are essential to keep our customers running making sure that they're able to deliver on what they have to do to keep the country going. But obviously, there's had to been some things that we've had to change and adapt. So the question, we'll just throw it out, and maybe we'll start with you, Kyle. How has COVID-19 affected your daily routing, and how have you adapted?
Honestly, it hasn't changed a whole much. Thankfully, through the years doing this as long as I have, I've come to make sure my customers are set up in a way that it allows me to do my job easier. So my customers have always had areas where the broken tools went. I've never really had to make physical contact with any of the workers unless it was absolutely necessary. So there was an area where the tools went, I go get them and I bring them out to my van. So there's a few out there that really hadn't heeded to that setup where I would actually have to go from station to station and ask them, if their equipment is working fine or not. Those customers, they now know when I pull up, I call the owner of the business, and he has the guys just bring their tools over to my van and drop them off in the back, and then I just open my door and bring the tools in and take care of it from that respect. Once I get them in my van, I do the normal wipe down of the handles and everything. If there's any kind of liquid on there or anything, I try and wipe them clean. I'm constantly using my gloves now, always have the face mask on, even though I'm not in contact with the people. When I go into the building, even though I'm not seeing anybody, I'm always wearing my mask.
Thank you, Kyle. Really appreciate you taking those extra precautions. Gentlemen, anything different or in addition to Kyle, or anything you'd like to add with that?
I would add that actually I don't have as many visits or service calls currently because I have customers that are either closed or by choice they have not deemed me to come by and fix their tools currently at this moment. So I've kind of done my routing now by on call, and then for efficiency, I have set up 2 days that I am actually doing a route that I have people to see, but otherwise I'm on call.
I've been calling my customers before I go, before I start my day, asking if they're open or if they even need me to come. Sometimes my weekly customers, I can skip them a week and go there every 2 weeks. Usually they're pretty fine with that. Things have started to slow down a little bit, and some of my customers' pallet and crating, especially, was going pretty good for a while. But now they're even starting to slow down. So I start my day by making phone calls usually.
My routes really hasn't changed at all. I don't have any customers that's closed down. Business has slowed down a little bit. I do have two that don't want you to come in the building. They'll bring the tools out and put on the ground, and I'll service them. And when we get through, I've got a solution. I'll just kind of spray them down real good before they carry them back into the building. And then I'll give them a call on the phone and tell them that I'm finished. But my routes really hasn't changed anything. Business has slowed a little bit, but not much.
Yeah. I was just thinking of looking at you gentlemen on the screen. One of the major pillars of LINC Systems model is really safety. We pioneered a really nice safety program. We preach safety to our customers, to our employees all the time. And looking at the faces on the screen here, Tony and Dennis, you guys had a lot to do with the program. I know Rick and Kyle, your fingerprints are on this as well. So being that safety is one of our pillars, has this opened up some additional opportunities to help your customers become more safety focused?
I think so. It's made them think about it more so than what they used to. With the people coming in and out, most plants don't allow anybody and visitors in any longer. But it's given us an opportunity, to go in with our safety presentation and meet with them one-on-one. I always make it a point to have somebody from the front office in each of my safety meetings, so they're involved in what's going on. It's not just the employees. And safety this day and time is a great big item with customers in our field and out of our field.
Kyle, I'm going to throw this out to you and Tony, because both of you have young children at home. And typically you'd come home and maybe your children are still at school or maybe have work to do out of the house. and you don't have the pitter patter of the feet. How has this changed, and how are you adapting to having your children home because the schools are closed?
Well, as you know, my wife is a teacher, so when I come home, usually they're still working and they kind of work side by side at the kitchen table. My daughter does her work. My wife's job has actually gotten a lot harder. She works well into the night, sometimes 9 o'clock, having to upload videos and that sort of thing. I mean, it's definitely not easier. If you were to ask her, she would definitely rather be back in the classroom. This is not, I mean, she works 7 days a week now, nonstop. I know a lot of people think, oh, the online learning, teaching should be a lot easier, but it's not. Now for my daughter, she gets her work done. She has to wait a clock to get it done, so she'll do some in the morning, kind of relax, then maybe do some in the afternoon. But for the most part, she's usually done by 3 o'clock, and then she goes off and reads her books and does what she likes to do. Me, I come home, if they're still working, my normal routine is I just take everything off, everything goes in the laundry, and my shoes come off outside before I even enter the main part of the house.
My wife is a behavior coach at a school, and she's filling in and helping kids with their work, mostly making sure they get their late work in and everything turned in online. Yeah, same thing as Kyle. When I get home, I don't want to pass anything on to the wife or my daughter. So I'm in the garage taking off my clothes. Our laundry's right inside the garage, so I take it there and throw it in, and I go take a shower. I'm just trying to be as safe as I can.
That's amazing. And do me a favor, could you please pass on to both your wives? Thank you. I mean, I didn't know that, Kyle, until you just said that about your wife working 7 days a week, working longer hours. Tony, I'm sure that's the same with your wife as well.
Yeah.
And Dennis, you being in the part-time business of a first responder, do you have any stories that you could share with us during this time?
Well, we're always trying to be careful in what we do as we approach any scene safety and all. But here lately, our what I call the spidey senses is at peak performance. If you suspect anything at all before we go into a home to check on a patient or whatever, a lot of times we'll call the home phone number and say, hey, can somebody step outside that we can talk to find out? And usually just one of us, there's always two of us on the ambulance. Usually one of us will go in and make the initial contact and come back out and give the report. And then that way, if we need to completely suit up completely with face shield and, gowns and everything, we can do that. And we're only exposing one person at a time. So our life has changed out there as first responders.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, all of you, for what you're doing above and beyond the normal job description, right? Maybe a little adjustment for what you guys have had to go through in addition to the additional steps. But has this time, like Rick, Tyler, you'd mentioned, your calls have gone down a lot. Our customers aren't as busy. What has this time allowed you gentlemen to do that otherwise you may not have had that opportunity, because now we have more time to do, whether it be training or organizing our parts or whatever that might be? How has this opened up? Or have you had any projects that if I had time to do something, I would do this? So maybe speak to that.
I can tell you from a humorous point of view, I've taken over my wife's side of the garage. And the reason is a workspace that I created for myself is about 6 by 8. And typically in the winter, it gets really messy because first it's cold and I don't want to be out there. So, so in this normal spring, I would work my way through, and kind of clean it up. But now this has not been a normal spring at all. And so I've been able to actually just kick her van out and use that spot to just move stuff out, organize. Typically what I found is parts that I didn't know what they were. I could take the time to identify them using our service link as far as that goes, and just get general organization. I also had a customer just before COVID hit give me about 22 of his tools to just refurbish, because it would have been a normal downtime. Well, 22 tools don't fit in a 6x8 along with everything else. So those tools are all done, ready. In fact, actually, he called me today and said, you can bring them up to me anytime. So they were in my wife's space. So I've had time to organize things that need to get organized. And then found things that I could share. I said, what do I need these parts for? And been able to pass them on to our fellow account managers for their usage. So.
Great story there, Rick. And thank Ann for her sacrifice of now parking her van outside versus inside.
He does not like that part.
He's taking one for the team. Kyle, how about you?
Couple things. Main one was get my garage organized in a way that when I bring in tools that have to be fixed, that have to go back to customers, we have back orders on parts. So rather than keep the tool with the customer, I'll bring it with me. When I get it, I fix it and bring it back. It's just the inflow and outflow in my garage is terrible. So I've organized my workbench. I've been able to send a bunch of tools back under get them back. I opened up a whole shelf of tools that I got off of there, was able to identify and get them back. And I've been learning more about Excel. That was like one of my big things. I've always wanted to get to learn the ins and outs of the Excel spreadsheet program. So I've been getting on the Microsoft site. They have some really good tutorials on there, and I've been doing that.
Great use of time. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. Tony, how about yourself?
In the time I can make, I have been doing online seminars. 3M and DeWalt are two big ones that have been really good to me. I got a lot out of them. 3M had a safety seminar that I really enjoyed.
Dennis, how about anything unique for your projects?
Well, nothing really unique. It's kind of like the other guys. What little bit of time I've had, I've just been reorganizing and resetting the van to make it more, work friendly.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys getting on for the last, at least half hour of our time. We'll probably edit this down less than that, but really appreciate the insight and keeping yourself safe, protecting your customers, setting a good example for the rest of us. Anything you'd like to add in closing? Anything we may have overlooked?
I'd like to add something, Craig, that, the four of us here is just a very small portion of the service industry that LINC offers. There's a lot of guys out there, there's a lot of folks behind the scene that makes everything happen. And I think through this COVID-19, it's really given our customers a chance to see us and our, what I call customer advocacy. I think it's given them a chance to see us shine because we've not been able to just back off and stay at home. We've still had to be out there. We've had to meet with customers. We've had to work on tools and do things like that. And it's given them a time to see us. And our service side of LINC is the face of LINC. We're the ones that our customers see week in and week out, and that we've got a personal relationship. I mean, most of us, we go into one of our customers. A lot of times we can tell you about their wives, their children and stuff because we've been here for so long. We built that relationship. And I think not with just, like I said, the four of us, we just are a small representation. Our force of service folks out there, the folks that in the warehouses and in the offices and stuff that make LINC Systems who it is. I think that this time has really just given us a chance to get out and to show our true colors and allow them to know that, we are a strong advantage to them.
Craig, I began with saying that I've been presenting solutions to customers for over 40 years. And we're about to enter into a new work environment. And we're not sure completely what that's going to be, but I'm looking forward to continuing to bring new solutions. And this time it won't be just how to make them more efficient, but equally efficient and safe. And so I think I need to get prepared for that.
Yeah, well said. I don't know about you guys, but the one thing that I think I know you guys enough to think that we're all in that same boat where somebody that you've known for a long time, you don't go with a handshake, you go with a hug. Every time I see Rick, it's a hug. Tony Bielek, it's a hug. Kyle, it's a hug. It's like I've known you guys, and I think that is going to be one of the things I'm really going to miss because I think the days of that are gone for a while. And even like Dr. Fauci was saying, even a handshake, so those are things that we're going to have to get used to. That's all part of business. You see somebody, you shake their hand, reach out to them. So whatever that new normal is going to look like, Rick, you made a good point. I think we're going to come out stronger and be a better, more valuable asset to our customers. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your input, your insight. Really enjoyed talking to you guys. I wish it was in person versus doing this over Zoom. But be safe and keep doing what you're doing out there. And please keep setting a good example for everybody else. So, guys, really enjoyed having you on. Thank you so much. I wish it was in person versus doing this over Zoom. But please keep safe. Keep setting a good example for others, not only your fellow workers, but also for your customers. So, miss you guys. Love you guys. Hope to see you
Thank
soon.
See you guys. Be careful out there. Appreciate you.
Be safe.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
We want to thank Tony, Dennis, Kyle, and Rick for their time, as well as their valuable insight that they've shared with us these past several minutes. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please forward them to me. My contact information will be in the show notes below. And if you'd like to subscribe, please click on the link in the lower corner to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. In the meantime, please do your best to stay safe, be careful, and above all, please be kind.